Hi, I'm the artist known as Shadow Von Cat. Most people just call me Kitty, and my legal name is Jade Greenberg. Uh, I live in the northern Indiana area. I am functionally homeless, as in, I don't really have an address that is mine. I spend probably about 75-ish% of the time with my best friend's family, living very near Amish country. We technically are in Bristol, Indiana, which is near where the Shipshewana Market is, right outside of here, and the closest cities are Elkhart, Goshen, South Bend. Um, and the other, like, 25-ish% of the time, when I have to go see my doctors and things like that, I stay with my ex-husband. And that is in, like, the Hammond, Indiana area, which is where I lived for a very long time. I spent 14 years teaching English composition at Purdue in Hammond, at the Purdue campus in Hammond. I also went to school at Purdue in Hammond. I started school there in January 1999. I got my bachelor's degree in December of '04 and my master's degree in December 2007. So I always worked, and I started working at 15, and I always had some kind of a job, with the exception of one semester in which I was very sick. And the next time that I didn't have a job, it was the end of April 2019, at which point, by then I wasn't divorced, but I was newly broken up with. The official breakup between my second husband and I, and he is the one that I stay with sometimes. Our breakup was officially in December of 2018. I didn't realize he had actually essentially broken up with me in, like, May of 2018, but I didn't notice. And he didn't leave the household at that point. I was in a communal living situation, paid for predominantly by myself. When I worked full time, I made really good money. And so we went from being able to rent a very large house, where there were between 5 and 7 roommates on a regular schedule, or on a regular basis. We went from that to getting evicted because we couldn't pay the rent anymore. And since then, with the exception of a short time where I lived with a male, to whom I was companioned. We used the word companion instead of girlfriend, boyfriend. And I officially lived with him. Like, I had all my mail and everything going there. Though I was living with, at one point, a female to whom I was engaged, I never switched my information to her house. She lived with her parents. We had a baby, as in she had a baby, but we picked the donor together and everything. And we just stayed with her parents. We were working on finding a place, actually with the help of my ex-husband. My best friend is my medical power of attorney, and since I have no next of kin, I have no biological family. He is the one who would be the person who would make decisions for me if I was not able to make decisions for myself, as in the point at which I either am no longer capable, or if I am unconscious. And so he also had a lot of say in like where we were choosing to live. And the reason that that is relevant, despite the fact that I'm only 42 years old, is because I have complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, along with a whole host of comorbidities, including gastroparesis. Gastroparesis is probably the most serious one. It affects the ability to get nutrition and to stay hydrated, so it makes just being a human more difficult. And so the person that I was involved with wanted him to no longer be my power of attorney, medical power of attorney, etc. We ended up breaking up, and so not because of that, actually, but we ended up breaking up. I moved back in with my best friend, and again, you know, I'd always had to stay with my ex when I have appointments, because I really can't switch doctors, since there are very few CRPS literate doctors in this area. My pain management doctor is actually all the way in Chicago, because I could not find a pain management doctor that knew what to do past the first few steps. What do you do when your patient fails out? All these things. I am also non-binary. She, they are my pronouns. I pretty much have had to give up on having anyone who's known me for any length of time use they, them for me. And I just kind of made peace with that, because otherwise it was going to drive me crazy forever. But it definitely makes me feel better, and makes me feel better in my own skin when I do have someone address me with the correct pronouns. I am also an artist and poet, which is why I have my stage name / writing name / art name. I'm recently have decided to re-release my second poetry chapbook, and I had to do that because my dedication page was largely written to my then fiance and our daughter, and since the breakup and the fact that she hasn't let me see our daughter since 6 April of this year, so 2023, I needed to change that page. I still love my daughter very much. I would do anything to see her, as long as it was something that wouldn't hurt her. But I don't have any other kids. I've been married twice to men, and I identify as panromantic. But I rock a line with, I would say that I was definitely demisexual, but since my nerve damage from the CRPS is so severe that I can no longer engage in intercourse, like traditional intercourse, I would say that at this point I probably sit more on the gray ace, or mostly asexual side of things. And that is something that I've only come to terms with in the last couple of years. I have been in polyamorous relationships, and have found them to be quite satisfying. I have found that I am also part of the gaming community at large. I am part of like what you would call like the steampunk community, cosplay. My best friend and I, we vend via Artist Alley for our art, especially at local conventions. And that is a little intro about me. Oh, also, because the first and predominant site, my CRPS, that showed up this time around, I had CRPS in my wrist, 2001 to 2002. I did respond to the nerve blocks, went into partial remission in March 2002 after being diagnosed in December 2001. And then, I thought I was good. Once you have it, you're more susceptible to have it again. I was diagnosed in October 2016, and at that point, they tried. There was no getting me back in remission this time. I am an ambulatory wheelchair user. I use a chair for large buildings, such as if I'm at a convention, if I'm at a grocery store that does not have what we like to call a vroom vroom cart, the little carts that you ride around in. As a heavy set person, I had a lot of shame that came along with riding one of those. So that was something that I had to work through, and calling it a vroom vroom helped. I use a cane on a daily basis because since one leg is significantly weaker and stiffer than the other, that just kind of balances. And then if I am walking like a medium distance, like let's say I go to the dollar store, I would use a rollator, because not only does it give me something to lean on, but I can sit down on it in between. So I would use something like a rollator, but I wouldn't use a regular walker. So alright, so that's me, and not in a nutshell, but rather in a bed filled with stuffies. Because I sleep alone, obviously, like I said, I live with my friend, so he sleeps in his own bed in another room. So that's me in a bed full of stuffies.